Now we friend them by the hundreds on Facebook. We fan, like, Twitter, spam, and Google people in ways unthinkable 10 years ago. I think I'll sofa for a while and brain up something new to author. Thanks for audiencing. Hey, you just got verbed. I'm Richard Armstrong at the University of Houston, where we're interested in the way inventive minds work.
A transcript of this Engines of Our Ingenuity episode, number 2682, is online at uh.edu/engines. Additional episodes are available by podcast.
Wednesday morning here on KSJE, and joining me now for our weekly segment about life in the Sandbox, the noted author of the Play Nice in Your Sandbox series of books. Ron Price is here in the studio with me. Mr. Price, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Michlin. Nice to be with the noted... I was going to call you disc jockey. You're not a disc jockey.
Well, I don't
You're
know
a radio
about that.
personality.
Okay,
That's
sure.
what you are.
All right. We'll take that too, but okay. There you are. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
This week we are going to talk a little bit about... Gosh, I wrote it down, and of course it's already gone out of my head, but it is, I
hope it says interest, not position.
That's what that word is. Boy, I wrote it down, but my penmanship is horrendous. So interest, not positions. That's what I did say. On the
other hand, we've been on a series about talking about preventing or resolving conflict. This is a good way to resolve conflict. Prevent it too, I guess, but interests, not positions. When people are in a dispute, an argument, a disagreement, whatever you want to call it, they each have how they think it ought to be resolved. And often those are positions that aren't necessarily their true deep-seated interests and desires. Let me give you a couple of quick stories to illustrate this. Tell a story about two guys in a college library studying for finals. After a while, one guy gets up and he opens a window. Shortly after that, a guy sitting nearby gets up and closes the window. Scott, what do you think the first guy does?
I will assume and bet that he goes back over and reopens the window.
That's why you're the radio personality that you are. That's exactly right. And you can
because
probably
we didn't rehearse this. So
that's right. That's right. This is live radio recorded. But you can also guess what the second guy did. He got up and closed the window, which got the attention of the librarian. She came over to find out what was going on. She turns to the first guy and says, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, I want the window open." Turns to the second guy, "What's going on?" "Well, I want the window closed." So the librarian knew their positions. She really still didn't know why. So she asked that question. She turned back to the first guy and asked him why. "Why do you want the window open?" "Well, because I starting to nod off and I need some fresh air. I need the window open." "Okay." Turns to the second guy. "Why? Why do you want the window closed?" "Well, because I'm feeling a draft. I can't afford to get sick. I need the window closed." So now the librarian knew their real interests. What are they really trying to accomplish here? Not just I want this or I want that. So she said, "All right, here's what we're going to do. Go back where you were. We're going to close the window. I'm going to open a window in the adjacent room. If necessary, I'll put on a fan so you'll have your fresh air. You won't have a draft, and I'll have peace and quiet." Scott, again, so many disputes could be resolved if people would get underneath the positions, what they say they want. Scott, if you and I are in a dispute, although I could never imagine that happening.
Well, there is that thing that you do. But anyway.
Wait a minute now. But if I understand what you really need, there may be a way I can give it to you without the way you're asking. You may be asking me to do something that, for whatever reason, I'm not comfortable doing, I can't do, whatever, but maybe I can still satisfy that need a different direction. Let me give you a perfect example.
The thing that I do.
The thing that you do.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
Stop it. Some years ago, I got a call from Salmon Ruins. In fact, I think I've told this story on the air before, but it's worth repeating. It's such a good story, and it's true. A manager and a key employee, and by the way, I have permission to tell this story. Not all the people involved are even in the area anymore. But a key employee wanted a raise, and the manager kept saying, "No, I want a raise. No, I want a raise. No, I want a raise." No, it had been going on for weeks, if not months. And it was starting to impact morale. Other people were getting involved, as people often will. And so I got called and said, "Hey, would you do a mediation? Would you sit down and see if you can help them get this resolved?" And so I did. And early on, Scott, I turned to the key employee and I asked her a very stupid question. I said, "Why do you want to raise? Why do you want to raise?" Now, Raise your hand if you're employed and you wouldn't like to be paid more for doing whatever it is you're doing. Come on, we'd all like a raise. But this is what she said. She had been at Salmon Ruins significantly longer than others that she was working with. She had more education in the fields of anthropology and archaeology that they deal with. She had more experience in those fields, having worked other places before she came to Salmon Ruins. But she wasn't being paid much more than other people who were just starting out and working alongside her. She didn't think that was fair. Scott, you want to argue with her, or do you agree that wasn't fair?
It doesn't sound fair to me.
Right. And I think most people in our economy would say, no, you got more experience, more time on the job, more education. You should be compensated for that. So the manager says, I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. Now, had she told him before? I don't know. Did she tell him the right way? Did he not hear? I don't know. But he heard her that day. And he said, I can't give you a raise. There really isn't money in the budget. But what I can do is reduce your work week by 5 hours and still pay you the same amount of money. Scott, did she get a raise?
Kind of.
Yeah, well, we'd have to divide by 40,
Sure,
divide by
right.
35.
Yeah,
But yeah,
right.
it gave her that gap. It gave her that prestige that she was looking for, that she was recognized as a more valued employee. It was never about the money. It was never about the money. If you're in a dispute with somebody, don't just stop with what they say they want. Find out why. Ask, why do you want that? Or what would that do for you? If I were to give that to you, how would that make things better? And listen for the answer, because you may just be able to provide it.
Insightful. I like it.
Thank you.
Very good. Ron Price, thank you so much.
You bet.
Ron Price is with me every Wednesday right here on KSJE Farmington.